Welcome to First Time Caregiver Confessions. I'm your host, Cami. This is the space for every first time caregiver trying to figure it all out, from managing the overwhelm to finding little moments of calm in the chaos. Each week, I'll unpack real stories, real confessions, and practical tips. A few honest laughs about what it's really like to step into caregiving for the first time. So take a deep breath. You're in good company. Let's get into today's confession. Today's confession: when your parent doesn't want help, but they really need it. Yeah, that's today's confession. My sister and I have definitely dealt with this, where dealing with our aging father, where he feels like, okay, I think they're at the point they're at their wits' end with their nerves with each other, to be honest. But there have been conversations or arguments where he's like, I'm going to move out. I'm just going to move into a senior independent facility and be on my own. Oh, really? Because you can barely get out of bed by yourself. You can barely get out of a car by yourself. You need help. So if you guys are like, us, my sister and I, dealing with a defiant parent, but they clearly need help and assistance, this episode is for you. Our father, he happens to be 81. He'll be 82 next year. And he has very limited mobility. He does use a walker, but I definitely can see that his leg strength, muscle mass has completely deteriorated. Especially, you find that may be true when they have a stint in hospital stay and then they come home, because your muscle mass, it doesn't take long for your muscle mass to get weakened after just several days or a few days with limited mobility or limited movement, being bedridden in a hospital. I know personally from myself, I had a knee injury and then I was advised to, stay off my feet for 7 to 10 days as much as possible to help my knee heal. And it's amazing how quickly your mobility and your strength and your legs and your flexibility can deteriorate. So, when your elderly parent feels like, oh, I can do it, I don't need the help. Yeah, they do. So how do you deal with that? I think one of the things, it's when it comes to the parent or whoever your loved one is, I think it's dealing with the loss of independence. First of all, it's dealing with the loss of independence. It's dealing with things are out of their control now, and things are not going to be the same way they were. And I think that the root of it, they really know that, but they still want to feel like they're in control and they are an adult and can take over some things. But the fact is, they're at a stage in their life where they can't, and it actually is harming them and potentially harmful. Also, for example, with our father, he doesn't drive anymore. How did we get to that point? He actually got involved in a bus accident, making a double left turn in a car in a left turn lane with a big bus. Neglected to inform my sister, who lives with him at the time. The only way she got notified of it first was through the insurance company, the text message that came through on her phone. And he neglected and paused and putting off telling her until like towards the end of the workday, when I guess he felt like she would be in a good space to receive the news. I don't know. She was working remotely at the time from home, so I don't know what was going in his mind, but it was at that instance where it's like, nope, taking the keys away for your own good. You can't be driving. But yeah, when your parent doesn't want to heed and take, heed to what you're trying to do to help them, there will be resistance. So just be prepared for that. And I mean, if you're lucky, maybe your parent or your loved one is like, okay, yeah, I admit I need help. But probably more times than not, I've heard and in our instance, there's more resistance. Same thing with living independently or getting more help. Our father, he's a dude, and he, as much as he may put off like, oh, I'm a perfect gentleman, he'd rather hang out with the young 20, 30 somethings young women that look pretty and, what is pretty and perky and nice versus hanging out with someone his old age range in his 70s or 80s. He'd rather hang out with, the young girls than hanging out with someone in his old age. But that's something else. But at the root of the matter is they need help, whether they like it or not. And the funny thing is when you maybe first introduce the idea of needing help and assistance, not only will they be resistant, but they think they don't need it, then it can also be like sometimes a manipulative tactic, like, oh no, I don't want you to spend the money, really care. I can do it. And it's like, but no, they don't do what they say they're going to do, even if they may say like, oh yeah, I'm going to, but it doesn't happen. But for example, like, I think it was in the summertime, my sister and I decided to have like a sister getaway. We took a day trip. Actually, it was an overnight trip, to be honest. Overnight trip right before, I think it was Labor Day holiday. And I thought it was a good idea to get help. And, oh no, I remember. It wasn't Labor Day holiday. We did take a trip. But this instant, my sister had a work trip. That's what it was. It was a work trip. And during the work trip, it was 4 days. I thought it was definitely a good idea to get hired help for at least 4 to 5 hours each day while she was on a work trip. And my dad was like, no, I'm fine. I don't need it. I ignored what he said and hired the person anyway. The person came to the house between the morning into the afternoon before, dinner time. Perfect in terms of budgeting for ourselves. But what he didn't realize is how nice it was to have, 1, someone to talk to, 2, someone to help prepare his food, his meals, 3, someone to help him to get in the bed, someone to help clean, do the dishes, empty the trash, someone to help him get in showered. So by the time that my sister came back from her work trip and I was checking in on him daily, I said, Dad, how did it go this week? You know what? It was kind of nice. She made some of my meals. She made sure I was okay. I got a nice shower. And I was like, okay, so the very thing you were resistant to is the very thing that made you happy and made you feel content. He was like, yeah, it was okay. I was like, So just, I don't know. I can't explain how these things work or how their brain works, but just know, if you know it's in the best interest of your parent or your loved one, do it anyway. That's what I would say. You don't have to take my advice, but I'm just sharing my candid confessions of what worked for us. They may, scream and shout or be like, I can do it on my own. I don't need that, this and that. You kind of have to get to a place as a caregiver where you just don't give to what's, like, you don't care. Like, I don't care if you're mad at me, you tell me you hate me, this and that, I'm gonna do it anyway, because I know, 1, it's gonna benefit not only you, it's gonna benefit me. And I'll say, as a person who's sharing caregiving duties along with my sister, it brought me, and I'm sure my sister, but it brought me such immense calm and peace to know that he was going to be checked in daily. Someone was going to be looking after him. I don't know. It just sent my stress level way down knowing that he was being looked after. So if you're like me and you're dealing with a parent who's resistant to the idea of getting outside help, reconsider. And actually, I would say be selfish. As a caregiver, be selfish. And what I mean by that is be selfish enough to take care of your mental health and your personal health and time and stress level. And if you're able to be in a position to pay for outside help to come in, do it. I feel like you won't regret it. It will give you that breathing room that you need to take care of yourself. And there are resources like care.com. I'll see if I can put links somewhere in the description, but there are resources like care.com or there are other at-home services that come to your house that are different from like the whole like senior living facility and nursing care. They're like 10,000 a month. So these are like people that you can pay hourly. Some of them may have like a 4-hour minimum, but at the end of the rate, it is an affordable, more affordable option if you're looking for a respite or break, or you have a short business trip or something, or just just want to take a leisure trip and you need a break. This is an affordable option in which you can get hourly help come to help out at the house, and they will do things like cleaning. And I'm specifically, when I say clean, I'm talking about the area of the patient. They're not going to clean your whole house, but they will clean the areas that the patient or your loved one commonly visits: the kitchen, their bedroom space, stuff like that. But it's just a definite resource and just an example I'm sharing when it comes to a parent that doesn't want help and they really do need help. You won't regret it when you get it. So just know, push past the fear. Have them, you know what, Dad, Mom, let's try it. That's how I had to kind of approach it. I'm like, you know what, you're not keen on that. Let's give it a try. And at the end of the day, you have to be blunt sometimes and be like, look, we can't do everything. We need the help. And that usually shuts it down. But anyway, I hope you guys found value and could relate and resonate with this episode. Thanks for listening to this episode, First Time Caregiver Confessions. And if today's episode helped you feel seen and supported, please take a second to follow, subscribe, leave a comment on the show, and share it with another caregiver who could use a little encouragement. You can also connect with us wherever you get your podcast or on the website, and to keep the conversation going. Until next time, guys, take care of yourself and remember, you're doing better than you think.